Hey guys, it's me. You know, it's rather surprising how much the African National Congress lacks conscience. Now I'm told that they are blaming opposition political parties for the hijacking of the buildings in Johannesburg. This is completely ridiculous and unacceptable. As Mayor Mashaba once fought against this matter, I want you to hear it from his lips. Listen to this.
Themselves and of course other officials from the city of Johannesburg. But while that takes place, I'm joined now by Herman Mashaba from Action SA, the former mayor of Johannesburg. Herman, thank you very much for chatting to me this afternoon. Let's kickstart maybe with what you've always raised around the problematic issue of buildings decaying, being derelict, being hijacked in the city of Johannesburg. You've seen it now. 74 people have died, but as the opposition, challenging the current administration for wanting accountability. What will you be doing next as Action SA?
Well, look, I think, Chapule, in my world, and I'd really wish one day I can live in that world where constitutionally a case like this has to really be treated as murder or culpable homicide at the list. Because this, yes, as much as we can call it an accident, but it was an accident bound to really happen. When you have government that are aware of the potential of the loss of life and you don't do anything about it, then someone has to really be held accountable. And that's something that obviously, I'm talking from someone with limited legal background, but common sense and logic tells me this is culpable homicide. And I'd like to speak to lawyers and really see if there's a case that can be opened against someone for the loss of this 74 lives. Because really, I think government, from national government, knew about this. I think I heard the president yesterday saying this is tragic. Tragic? What do you mean tragic? I mean, you've been aware about this. We've witnessed the decay of the city the last 30 years. It's not something that just really happened overnight. When I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, when I raised the conditions of this city and the reclaiming of these buildings, his own organization went to actually lay a charge against me with the Human Rights Commission and so forth. So I think this should not really come as a surprise to anyone. As you're aware, Pule, this building is just the tip of an iceberg in terms of the level of illegality that's happening, the living conditions of people, of our fellow South Africans. It's massive. This is just the tip of an iceberg. We must just really pray to God in the event of something happening that we don't really lose as many lives as we did. But losing lives, it is a given. I've just left one building now with one of TV stations. We went into one of the buildings. Just the smell and the living conditions, you are actually killing people health-wise. I think I cannot understand how the Human Rights Commission can allow people to live under those conditions.
So if I get you correctly, what you're saying is that you will be taking legal action against the city of Johannesburg.
So, as you basically heard the former mayor, when he took this matter up to get rid of these hijacked buildings and put them under the city and repurpose them for human settlements that would be habitable by decent human beings, the African National Congress took him to the Human Rights Commission. It's a long story. You can read about it because it really happened, and I remember it vividly, clear in my head. And now, how can they come forward and be saying this is tragic? Tragic what? This is their plan. Remember, failure to plan is planning to fail. Make no mistake about it. So the African National Congress has literally planned by doing nothing that this must actually occur. So it was a matter of time, when was it going to occur? I want to show you something else, because now, whilst I'm a believer myself, the people who are singing at the back, they are making noise. You can't really now hear this conversation because of that. But nevertheless, let us read something else that concurs with what Herman is saying here. Not that Mayor Mashaba requires such concurrence, by the way. The hijackers who ran Joburg. Johannesburg is run by a mayor whose party received less than 1% of the vote. The Speaker of the Council also comes from a 1% party. It's the worst version of betrayal of the vote of residents who try to rescue their city from a malice and incompetence. President Cyril Ramaphosa on Thursday night found himself in the heart of 80 billion city of Johannesburg with hardly street lights functioning. The area Marshalltown is the heart of the decay of the neglected city whose buildings are easily hijacked by criminals, with cables stolen by copper cables syndicates that have operated in the city for years. And the ANC, by the way, is aware of this. Down the road at Bree Street is the site of unresolved disaster where methane gas exploded last month from an underground service tunnel. Ramaphosa himself was in the vicinity only as a public relations exercise after a fire gutted a 5-story building on Thursday morning, killing 76 people, including 12 children. The building, which belongs to the city, has been ignored by the city council for more than 10 years and simply handed over to criminals. Did you hear that? Its prime time, the building was, in its prime, the building was a safe haven for abused women and children and even had a clinic. It was hijacked by criminals in 2013 and city officials knew the building had been condemned as unsafe for human habitation. When disaster struck, over 400 people lived in the building, paying monthly rent of 1,600 per household to slum lords. People desperate to live in the inner city and be close to potential employers go to the extent of erecting shacks in the passages and stairways of buildings. This is the reality in hundreds of buildings across Johannesburg where the years of failure to implement city bylaws resulted in criminal syndicates being allowed to take over dilapidated buildings. Sadly, the residents of Johannesburg have been trying for many years now to save their city from the corruption and incompetence of the African National Congress government. The only way people can save themselves from an incapable administration is through the vote. And the latest municipal elections, the residents took power away from the ANC. The ANC now governs the city with a puppet mayor from Al Jamaa, a party that received less than 1% of the vote. The ruling party received just 33.6% of the vote from the residents. The rest, 64% of the vote, went to opposition parties, a clear vote of no confidence in the ANC that has run the city for decades. In the first year, former DA Mayor Dr. Mpho Phalatsa united opposition parties under a new vision for the municipalities. The coalition collapsed when smaller parties took their votes to the ANC in exchange for lucrative positions. So desperate was the ANC to take power from the opposition that it allowed Al Jamaa to bully it into taking the opposition of the executive mayor with less than 1% of the vote. The Congress of the People, another 1%, was given the position of the Speaker of the Council. So spare a thought for the people of Joburg. The city and its finances remain hijacked by a political cabal that has little regard for accountability and consequence management. By the way, it's very important for you to understand that everything that is being said here is factually correct. You can fact check it if you want to do so. Going back to Mayor Mashaba, it's like he was a prophet. He did say this when he was a mayor. He was taken to courts by the ruling party. They even called him xenophobic. They resisted his attempts to repurpose these buildings and give them to property or what you call owners who would repurpose them so that they can create a settlement wherein human beings can live a decent lives. So it is pretty clear that when you see people like Panyaza Lesufi, like President Ramaphosa and Fikile Mbalula talking nonsense about how much they care, that is nothing but a PR exercise. It should be received that way, it should be perceived that way, and people must not be moved. And to make matters worse, the EFF must be embroiled in this scandal as well, because the EFF is the one that is telling us to collapse our borders, which means it encourages foreigners to come into our country illegitimately. Because remember, these people who have been found caught up in this fire, many of them are illegal immigrants, and about hundreds of undocumented people were caught in a separate news article, which I haven't read for you, were caught during this this fire, as the police came on the scene and they began to. The Minister of Foreign Affairs was telling the story on TV last night. So it's important for people that this is very painful, and it is sad that it has happened in a manner in which it has happened, but we need to take stock during these times and be unemotional about it and think through it, and not allow propagandists like Ramaphosa, like Fikile Mbalula, because this is how they have managed to stay in power over these years, by playing mental gymnastics, psychological gymnastics on people's emotions. Right now, people need to know who betrayed them. It's the African National Congress. Those buildings were habitable, and they were in a state of going down when the ANC took over. But right now, they are in a complete dilapidated state because the African National Congress did nothing about it. They are simply corrupt to the core. So whatever they say publicly right now, it ought to be completely overlooked or condemned with the possible strongest terms. They are using this crisis for electioneering. The truth of the matter is well documented. Mayor Mashaba was resisted by the ANC and the human rights lawyers when it came to removing these people out of these buildings and repurposing these buildings. Now there is a loss of life. It's too late to say, oh, this is so tragic. Why? Because, as I've already said, when you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Okay, guys, that's it. It's a sad time. It's an emotional issue, but emotions never resolve anything. This could have been avoided. And I agree with Mayor Mashaba when he says, if anyone could be charged for this, it's actually the president and his ruling party comrades who were directly involved in taking this matter to courts. Courts shouldn't be allowed to rule the morality of the country. We should also be able, our leaders should be able to make moral decisions, such as this is a squalor conditions. I remember very well when Mandela was released from jail, Raymond Mhlaba literally cried tears when he saw the sheikhs squatter camps for the first time in Port Elizabeth, which is where I was raised. He cried tears when he saw this. How then have their hearts since been hardened like this? That it is okay for them to observe our people living in these conditions for as long as they are embezzling money. Remember life as a demene? How is this different from that? How is this different from that? I'm sharing this part so that you can see the heart of the people that are ruling you. These people are heartless. That is why they can come to the public domain and still think that they have a moral right to make the statements that they are making. They have absolutely nothing to say to us morally because they are morally bankrupt. They are the ones under whose reign the decay of the city took place. And the decay of our country is taking place. Nevertheless, guys, I'll leave it at that. You tell me what you think. You can put your comments down below. Have a lovely one. Do not forget to subscribe if you have not yet subscribed. Like the video as well. Ciao, ciao.